Hi guys, it's your boy, the Supreme Leader. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and also click the bell button after subscription. All right, so let me quickly share what do you call it? The link, the group chat. All right, so this is it here. So the topic for today, yes, why is African immigration extremely high? Yes, why is African immigration migration is extremely high? Hello, Mr. Uganda. Yes, hello, Mr. Uganda. So, guys, let's talk about this. A whole lot of people criticize when we come and then we talk about Africa. Okay, we come and then we hit the topic about how hard it is and all that, and we get people who say, "Nah, it's not hard. It's not. It's just what do you call it? It's not something hard." I'm going to post a link. Yes, I'm going to post a link if you want to join, because I want you guys to simply come and then tell me something. Share your thoughts. The link is right there. I'm going to also leave a link in the group. Yes. So, hello, PPG, GH. Yes, I see you too as well. X, I've seen you too as well. Good afternoon. And yes, so in the group chat, there was some questions in the group chat, and I decided, okay, fine. It's better I come on live and then share some link, invite some guests to simply come and share their thoughts. All right, so we have Jude is here.
For Bluma to start.
Yes. So, guys, if you want to be part of this of the stream, you can just click the link at the comment section to join. Mr. Uganda is here. Yes, Mr. Uganda, you are welcome. And oh, Mr. Uganda also went off. I don't know if maybe it's the internet over there. So, yes, the truth is yes, a lot of Africans are traveling a lot. Yes, Mr. Uganda is back again. So let me put Mr. Uganda on. Yes, and also X Foley is on too as well. I think his internet is a little bit rough. It's not connecting. All right, Mr. Uganda. Why is African migration extremely high? What do you have for us? Tell us.
So I'm just gonna go out on a whim here, right? I say that whenever you move, it's like, let's just analogize it for a second. If you're getting everything you want from a biscuit jar and it's all heaven, then you wouldn't have to put your hand in another jar. So essentially, if people feel the need to cross the waters to places they've never been and ensue on all of that risk just to get their hand on another cookie jar, it's because they don't get what they want from the original. And to that point, they're probably willing to just get a crumb from somewhere else. Because if you're willing to leave your family life to go somewhere, it means it must be that bad, at least in their perspective.
All right. What about the people who use so much money that they can simply use to invest and these people use it to get visas and then buy expensive tickets to travel to these places. Because, of course, these places are not cheaper to travel to by air, but there are people too who travel by air. They pay visa connection men to get them visas. They use a lot of money, and the lot of money that they use, they could have used those kind of amount of money to get into a business. So what is your thought on that one too?
Again, I think it's about perspective. If you think you're dealing with an empty jar, you also and you feel like you can't do anything with it. Essentially, you can't see you can't see a flourishing forest there. You can't see a world where your business plan takes off well over here. But because Western media is so powerful as well, you see that people are thriving in their businesses. So you feel like you can plant your seeds over there. So I
Okay,
guess that they feel
yeah.
like they can do their business elsewhere and they can get a good profit off of it. And it's not just keeping above water, it's being able to soar to the space.
Okay, my next question is: have you ever been to any part of West Africa before?
No, I haven't. No.
What about any part of Africa? Because your name is Mr. Uganda.
Yeah, so I'm actually Black British. I was born and raised in the UK. I do travel back. I'm currently like in Uganda. I travel back occasionally. I've traveled through North Africa, traveled through Kenya. I've essentially been through Uganda. So yeah, North Africa, East Africa.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about how the life? I'm not talking about the a little bit rich people in Uganda, like the regular Ugandan. You've seen. I don't know if you have lived with some locals, like typically. But what is your thought on life out there in Uganda compared to your lifestyle in the United Kingdom?
Okay, this is where might be a little bit biased, right? Because again, it's all about every answer is contingent upon perspective. Because I'm someone who was born and raised in the West, right? And I'm used to the amenities and the luxuries of where I come from in the West. So essentially, when I do go back to parts of Uganda, I do see that the quality of living is considerably less. Like there's less infrastructure on the roads. Um, traffic direction could be better. The public transport, which is it's a mini bus, but it's actually called a taxi. Those haven't received some new funding, so essentially, um, it means that it's just very like it's like downtrodden. That's the thing. Like, so I guess for the average regular Ugandan, like their normal is what I wouldn't want to have. That's how I'm going to answer it because it's their reality. So obviously they've made do with it, and I love the country for the culture. The people are lovely, but the things that I'm used to, the amenities and the luxuries and the expediencies, everything to that effect, I love here. Like in the UK, when I travel back, because I'm now in Uganda, it's like, oh, like I need to go home soon. And that's just the truth. It's like I always feel like when am I going home? Because there's just some things I can't. It's just sad. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I'll listen to what you're saying. I'm gonna mute.
All right, so guys, you heard Mr. Uganda. I was simply asking him a little bit about Uganda and also a little bit about the UK. Even though he loves Uganda so much, uh, according to what he is saying, there are sometimes he misses much more of the lifestyle in UK than in Uganda. And also, there is some other one question that I wanted to ask you. I don't know if you are ready to answer to as well. If you're not a little bit busy over there, I can also ask you this question too as well, Mr. Uganda.
Okay, I just missed the question. Should I just read off what's on the screen or?
Oh, okay, okay. No, it's okay. You can read what is on the screen, and then we can take it from there too. Because let me read it. Then I can ask you the question. The world is changing, and I believe some Africans are abandoning nationalism and are focusing on the future generation to come. They are responsible for the future generation, not the government. Okay, this is actually I will consider this to be a very big fact. I'll consider it to be very big fact. But let me quickly ask you the question that I wanted to ask you before. Okay, for you to choose a place to like settle, okay, like settle, not to move, not to think about any holiday, not to like, for you to settle, to start all over again. When I say settle, I'm not talking about you should have everything in place, like house, a job. No, I'm talking about if you are supposed to make a choice between Uganda and the United Kingdom, okay, for you to start from scratch, zero, you have nothing. You are now going to start all over. Where are you going to choose to start?
I would start in the UK. Again, it's about perspective. Like I can't escape my perspective. And because at least the difference between here and most places back on the continent. So no, let me rephrase that, right? So I'm speaking from the Black British perspective. So let me just say this right.
Yeah.
The difference between Uganda and maybe some other African countries versus elsewhere is that Uganda, like we don't have welfare states here. So we won't have we wouldn't even have like much help rising up. But in the UK, there's at least a welfare state you can appeal to. And with regards to the comment, the one that you just had up before this one, I would say that
Yeah.
yeah, people are more geared towards focusing on generations because we've pretty much given up on government. You know, like people just focus on their immediate family and posterity, because that's something more to fulfill you. That's something more you could build on. Like if we keep asking for government, it's like we're gonna be here all our lifetime. Like they should have been doing things from the start, but we see that nothing's coming to fruition. So yes, that is probably why that's why people even start lives elsewhere because they're like, at least my children won't be born here. So let me go to the UK and I'll give my children something to do. So that's literally about their own generations. That's about their bloodline. It's nothing to do with their government. So yeah, they ditched the nationalism and they just went in favor of bloodlines and I guess to a degree security, immediate security.
So there is one more question about our vloggers. Guys, if you want to be part of the conversation, there is a link at the comment section. You can click it and then join the conversation. Okay, I see Chibili. Yes, Chibili. Let me add Chibili and then ask you a question as well, Mr. Uganda. Mr. Uganda, so what do you see? Okay, like what is your opinion on the Pan-Africanism? What is your opinion on that?
If you asked me this yesterday, I would have had more of a solid opinion. I'm actually I'm a very, very critical person of the Pan-Africanism ideology.
Okay, it
To
varies
me,
really,
there
but
is no
you know what? Like everyone needs
yeah.
to find a way to make their life better, right? And you find that there's so many red tapes in Africa.
Yeah, go on, Mr. Chibi. I think his network is a little bit giving him a tough time. Yeah, you were talking, Mr. Uganda. Yes.
I don't really see cohesiveness amongst Africans on the African continent. When I do hear Pan-Africanism, I'm a bit perplexed because we're talking about a framework of a continental world where like some tribes don't even get along with other tribes. And when we even come into contact with some other tribes we've never come into contact to, then we immediately have issues then as well. So like I think the part about the Pan-Africanism ideology that really baffles me is that we want to sell an image that we're already ready to sort of extend hands with the diaspora, but we're not even getting along amongst each other. So I'm like, there's a massive caveat to this ideology that no one ever wants to address, and it's the fact that Africans don't want to work with Africans first and foremost, yet are trying to signal to the world that we're ready to have the Caribbean, the Black American, the South Americans diaspora in our conversations. And it doesn't make sense. It's not even internally consistent.
You see, what you just said, it's something that I talked about some time ago. I did a video about it. I got attacked by many. I was simply talking about the tribalism alone. The tribalism alone. I'm I'm even short of words because I talked about this and I got what do you call it? I got attacked, and it's really, really unfortunate that those people are not online to see what you are saying about this Pan-Africanism, because we within ourselves as Africans, we are having big issues to welcome each other. So yeah, let me see what Chibli, Mr. Chibli, can you at least pronounce your name for us to have an idea how the name really sounds, because I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Let me add you on the screen. Yeah.
Sure. My name is Chivili. I'm from Zambia, Southern Africa. And not too long ago, I was living in Malaysia. I was doing my master's that side. Came back in April and really got depressed. Like, I really need to find myself out there again. But I mean, with the pandemic, one can only do so much. So now, coming back to what you were saying about Pan-Africanism and the influx, the brain drain from Africa, I think it's, even for me right now, I had an argument with my mate the other day because I want to go maybe to the US or Europe, maybe pursue my PhD or work there, maybe find something in Silicon Valley or something. Thing is, as young Africans, as a young Zambian, I don't find opportunities that will fit the sort of lifestyle that I want to live. The credit system is bad. If you want to buy a car, for instance, if you go to a Ford or I don't know, Chrysler dealership, you have to buy a car with cash. Now, how many people make that sort of cash to buy a car? You see, so those are little things that just like play with your mind. Transportation is a burden, electricity, water, all these like basic necessities for you to live an average life. It's so hard in Africa. You see?
So I wanted to ask you a question too about comparing your studies outside the continent to your studies when you were in the continent. What is the feeling like when studying out there and also in the continent of Africa? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's really different. From the Zambian perspective, I'd say lecturers at universities, I've never been to a Zambian university. It's always like, long distance with a UK university, and I went to Malaysia, and then, that kind of stuff. Thing is, in our education system, I'll give you this. I would say lecturers are they try to pull down their students. They try to make them fail. That's like their motive. If someone passes, then he's really good. He's an A+ student, that kind of thing. But when you go outside, it's more like helpful, resourceful education. Is fun. You want to learn. You want to love education. And that's the thing. If you want to do research or anything like that, you must love education. It's not the same feeling here. Education is a punishment. Like for you to get that bachelor's, for you to get that master's, you must go through hell. You see, that's the African mentality.
Okay. Yeah, I will come back to that because it is something that I really want us to discuss. I will also ask Mr. Uganda a quick question, then I'll come back to you, Mr. Chibli. Mr. Uganda, if you are there, I want to ask you something about schooling. Have you had any experience studying in Uganda, or you just went there for like just a visit, or how? Like, what was the whole thing about in Uganda for you, Mr. Uganda?
So I've only really studied in the UK. Like I've never had a formal education in Uganda. So I can't give a perspective on this particular matter.
Okay. Mr. Chibley, I'm coming back to you again. The question here is, Mr. Uganda talked about tribalism. Tribalism. What
Okay.
is your experience? I don't know which country. You said you are from Zambia, right?
I'm from Zambia, and that's actually the thing I want to talk to you about. Today we inaugurated a new president. It's from a different tribe, from the mainstream tribe here in Zambia. There's all this tribal talk and whatever, but I think as Zambians, we've gone through that. We've gone through all that kind of tribalism. It's not the same as it is in, let's say, South Africa. Right, there had apartheid, and they've got all these issues with complexities within the black race. You go there as a foreigner. You've been to South Africa before, right?
Oh yeah. I have lived in South Africa. Actually, not been, but lived in South
See,
Africa, both in the
for
city and also in the in the villages too as well. So I have a very typical connection with the real South Africans too as well. Yeah.
exactly, they've got their own complexities with xenophobia, and they'll call you the Makwerequeres and whatnot. It's all different dynamics there, right? So you as a
Yeah.
black person would not feel safe within a predominantly black country, which is South Africa, quite developed. The economy is doing well, of course, now with pandemic and whatnot. But the thing is, you want to be comfortable in your own space. Africa, by and large, uh, does not make it possible for us. The thing is, they don't give us the resources to develop our lives in the way that we need to. Now, needless to say that one of the biggest advantages that you have living in Africa is you can buy land. You can build your dream house, your glass house, whatever, modern design house. You can live a good life. But that's something that you want to do in your old age. For now, create wealth, travel the world. Like I've traveled the world. I've been to Egypt, I've been to Europe, Asia, Vietnam, wherever you name it, I've been there. So the thing is, I think as Africans, as young Africans, we need to be more open-minded. We need to travel more. We need to experience the world more. Then we can try to bring back what we see out there in our own environments. That's how we develop. That's
Okay.
what I think.
There is a question about extreme migration about Africa that I wanted to ask you to as well. Do you think the people who like the extreme African migration, it's happening because people want it, or it's because something is really pushing them to relocate or to try other places? What is your take on this particular question?
I mean, it can be in multiple folds, right? I'll give you two basic analysis. One could be economic immigration. You seek economic asylum in a different country. Another one would be political asylum with, geopolitical issues and whatnot. But I'll touch on the part that I'm more comfortable with, which is more economic asylum or economic immigration, right? So you travel to another country because you want to earn more. You want to, I don't know, provide more, better life for your family. And that's where I'm coming from. Like I would want to, because I'm a data scientist, so I would want to, see how I can apply myself in maybe Europe or wherever, and like that. That's what
Okay,
I would say.
there is another question too. I wanted to what do you call it, to ask you to uh, about these vlogs that we normally see online. Like Pan Africanism. I'm still on this Pan Africanism thing.
Okay.
Do you think it's going to be easy for the blacks coming out from Africa, blacks who are not really from Africa? Do you think Africans are giving them a real welcome? Like, what is your take on that? Have you had any close experience with some black foreigner in Africa who,
Yes.
like, what is your take on that?
Yeah, like I had a friend who used to live in Queens, Brooklyn, New York, and she came here with her husband and child. I think because the husband was in a different profession to what is really known to be, to have a good sort of live-in space here. he couldn't find a job, so he left like within 3 weeks, I would say. Because certain jobs like craft jobs, you really can't make a good living in Africa, in Zambia, should I say. I think the husband was a welder. So now with welcoming, are we welcoming them in the way that we should? I think we are. From my small analysis, my small understanding, I think we are welcoming them in the way that we should. I'll give you an example. If an American or a British black person comes to Zambia, many people want to talk to that person. Many people will be friendly with that person. They will show them around freely. I think we're open with that. But I think what you should really dive into is, I don't know, maybe this is a different topic, but it's more of white privilege. It's seen everywhere in Africa. We have young people come from Germany, from Austria, from the US. They come here and live way better lives than us.
So therefore, are you going to say it's because of their passport that they are being welcome like that? Thank you so much, Mr. Brian, for the donation. Thank you so much for the donation. So I want to ask you this. Do you think they get that kind of privilege because of their passports, even though they are black people?
Yeah, it's. I can explore this question in multiple ways. One is informational advantage. They're advantaged educationally, informationally, as well as just their passport, their nationality. So because you're American, because you're British, that will give you certain privileges, okay? Because you've got information to access different jobs, different opportunities in Africa, you will come here and you make a better life than a local person who's here. Because one, we don't have the right education. Our education is so poor, we can't apply ourselves out there. Two, we don't have that information to make our lives better, you see? So all those dynamics, it's like someone who hoards that information will have a better way in life. Information is power after all.
Okay, so you see, you said something about what do you call it? About the white privileges and stuff like that, and also treatment some kind of way depending on which country you are from. So how do Zambians welcome other African people, like somebody from Nigeria, for example? How do they welcome them? Can you give me a little bit about?
Okay, maybe I'd say Nigeria is
I don't want you to
example.
try to
Okay.
get a little bit open about this, because I am from Ghana and I can tell you a lot about that. You can ask me the same question. I'm going to tell you what it really looks like. But first, you answer mine, then you can ask me more questions too as well. Let's take it like that.
I think we're more inquisitive, we're more curious, we're more willing to learn, we're more appreciative of other cultures, and we're really accommodating towards other Black Africans or even non-Black Africans, like Arab Africans, like Tunisians. I'll give you this example. I've been to Egypt twice, right? I met the best friends ever in Egypt, and they're Arab, Muslim. I'm a Christian, I'm Black. But it's not even the point, you know what I mean, right? It's about that togetherness that we have, the Ubuntu. They're not Ubuntu, but you know, there's that what do they call that? Comrade, sort of like a comrade, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, they have some word for it. They have some, yeah.
Yeah, for example, if I know someone is coming from Ghana, is living in Zambia, and you know they're doing certain things that I'm interested in, if they're doing photography, if they're doing some sort of art or whatever, I'll be like, hey, let's link up, let's have coffee, and then let's just talk about stuff. You know what I mean? I'll be more interested in learning about that person, their travel experience, their life experience, their cultural norms. That's me, right? I'm open-minded like that. But that does not exactly depict the picture of all Zambians, or you know, I'm just speaking for myself.
Okay, have you ever been to other African country apart from Zambia?
Yes, as I said, Egypt. I've been to Tanzania. I've been to Lesotho, South Africa, and which other countries? Kenya. Not, I think a day or two. That's about it. Not so many.
Okay, so how was the welcome like? How was the welcome like in these places that you visited? Tanzania, Lesotho, South Africa, Kenya. Because I'm not going to talk about the north of Africa, because because I
Okay.
want I wanted to
It's
share
different.
your experience thoughts on this. Yeah, somebody says, what does it
In
mean when
Africa, it was
a
good.
Brazilian
I
sends
would
you
say.
a bullhorn? When a Brazilian sends you a bullhorn like this, it means you are a cheater. You
Mhm.
are cheating. You understand? So they use that word, the bullhorn, to say you are a cheater. So whenever a Brazilian send you a bullhorn like this, it means you are a cheater. Okay, so you guys should bear in mind on that one. All right, so I was asking you a question. So tell us, how were you welcome in those countries?
I think fairly well, but also under the context that I went to those countries, I think it's a bit different. Others were more for fun, adventure, travel, then others were more like business. So straight from the airport, you're taken straight to the hotel. So obviously that's sort of fake, welcoming thing going on. But all in all, I think with the locals, um, nothing negative. I wouldn't say anything like that. Like Africa is a beautiful place, right? It's a nice place
Yeah,
to travel. People are
you said
friendly.
it,
Of course,
but
you need to be in the right places. You don't
in
want to find
your
yourself
previous
in.
comment, yeah, in your previous comment, you were talking about the privileges of uh, people who have a passport like the American passport, European passport, and how they are being welcomed and stuff like that in Zambia. So that is why I am turning the question to you as a Zambian, as an African. What is your experience in other African countries? So you said it looks warm, very welcoming. Yeah. So do you have some question you want to ask me to regarding to this kind of situations?
Perhaps I don't know. Maybe one would be as someone who's planning on moving away from Africa in probably in the next few months or a year. I'll just try to get your experience, how it is out there being an African. How have you settled in Brazil, and yeah, just life there.
Okay, there is a comment that I had today about lifestyle here in Brazil. In I think the video that I posted, I think yesterday, I don't know. Somebody
Okay.
came and then commented, and the person was simply saying, "Ah, he lives in Brazil. He's from Kenya." And what I said in the videos are simply not true. I think I have to share this comment for you guys to simply see the comment under that video. Let me try and see if I can simply share the screen with you guys so that you can see the comment that I am simply talking about, because it was a live video that I did. Okay. I'm quickly going to share this with you guys, okay? So if you can read it together, then I can answer the question too as well. So let me just share the screen, guys. Let me know if the screen is you can see the screen as well. Can you see the screen, guys? Yeah. Okay. So this is it here. I guess you can see the comment right here. I am a Kenyan living in Brazil for over 5 years now. I can say with full honest that much of what you have said in this video is false. Brazil is an expensive country to live in and one of the most unequal societies in the world. I have Brazilian friends who are teachers and they can barely get by on their salaries. They earn and and what? Many are looking to leave Brazil as soon as they can earn a better salaries abroad. Okay. As much as Brazil is great place to live and work, full of wonderful people. Africans coming here should be ready to have high qualification and speak good Portuguese if they want to live a particular lifestyle, which involves travel and some luxury moments. Okay, so this is the comment. You saw the comment, right, Mr. Chibley?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, I did.
All right. So this was a comment from an African viewer. He
Okay.
says he lives here in Brazil, and this is his experience. And okay, let me talk a little bit about this particular comment. Here in Brazil, the people are very nice. I don't know where he met his friends and the kind of circle he is in, but the people are very, very nice. And he was talking about society. The society here, it's a little bit divided. That is what he said. But is that one also is actually a lie. I don't know the kind of how the way he presents himself. He presents himself around people. But like I said, when Africans are in a place, they try, majority, as much as they can, they try to do what? They try to stay in a box rather than to come out of their boxes. And of course, I have never studied here in Brazil. I never did any Portuguese class. I did nothing. I started from scratch. I was working as a, what do you call it? A construction, a laborer. Okay, from being a laborer all the way to a level where even someone who what do you call it? I don't know how to say this, but look, I'm in a very different place now. So, what makes you think that you cannot make it happen if you are African living here in Brazil? I just wanted to answer that question. So, you were asking me a question. What was the question exactly? You said something.
Okay, I've actually thought of something else, but I was trying to ask you just how life is. And I think part of the videos that I've watched from your channel, I think part of them answer that. And if I think I need to go back to them, I'll just certainly do that. But one thing that I'd want to ask you is there any sort of job discrimination when applying this? Are there any check-in for race, nationality, all those funny things? Is it based on your race first? Or what? How is
No.
it?
Okay, good. It's a very good question that you just asked. And I will answer this question again because I did some videos about it and I talked about it too as well. Here in Brazil, when you are looking for a job, the first thing they consider is, can you do the job? Period.
Okay.
Can you really do the job? So if you can do the job, you are going to get the job. They are not ready to look at your race. They are not ready to look at where you are coming from. Once you can do the job, you get a position to do the job. You understand? Okay, there are places where they are a little bit like that, but these kind of places, you can count them. I personally haven't gone through this kind of experience before, but I can tell you that the reason why a lot of
That's
people
really good.
yeah. The reason why a lot of people are, a lot of Africans complain about this kind of thing is, you remember, I went to a channel. There was a live video that was happening. I think it was African Millenniums channel, and I answered some question like this. It was like this. Most of us Black people. Let me just put it in general because I won't specifically say Africans. I won't specific. I was looking at what do you call it? A comment. I won't specifically say Africans. I will say blacks in general. Okay, blacks in general. What happens? Black people, when they are going somewhere or when they are somewhere, they have already tried as much as they can to paint their minds. Okay, to paint their minds that people don't like them, people hate them because of their color. So what happens is, when you come here, majority of the African people that I know, they always say, no, these people are like this, people are like that. But when you look at deep down where the problem is coming from, the problem is coming from them because they have already created that mindset that nobody likes them. You understand? They have created that mindset that because of their color, they cannot do anything other than doing some, what do you call it? Some nasty jobs. You understand what I'm saying? So the problem of you not getting a position depends on you. But here, people simply don't care about that kind of thing because the one who is giving you the job is having a black uncle or maybe a black grandfather. You understand what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's
I
more
do.
like you have to know what you are going to do. If you say, this is what is what I know what to do, and this is what I want you to give me a position to do, you have to demonstrate it that you can do it. So they will give you the job for you to do. Because here, one thing you have to know, even people who are handicaps, when they go looking for a job, they get it. So how much more you, who is 100% complete? You understand? So you just, let's use some other example. Where I come from Ghana. Okay. In Ghana, when you are handicapped, for you to even get a boyfriend or a girlfriend is a big problem. Okay. So that one is some form of discrimination to back there. Okay. Here in the Western world, let me just specifically say here in Brazil, although I've been to a lot of countries around the world, let me specifically say here in Brazil. Let me say you are here in Brazil and you are going through some kind of health challenges. You have some problem, maybe some broken eyes or some broken nose. You are handicapped. You have maybe some saliva dropping some part of, like you look a little bit some kind of way. You will still get somebody who loves you, like truly loves you and is ready to take care of you. So if we have these kind of people here, what makes you think that if you can do a job, they won't give you the job? You understand? You read the comment that I simply I simply shared with you, right? About the Kenyan who was complaining about the discrimination and blah 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 like that. I can tell you that he is already thinking about that. That is why he's going through that. You understand what I'm saying? And if you think about that all the time, you will automatically go through these kind of things. Okay, let me tell you one story. I remember I won't talk about my London experience, okay? I won't talk about my London experience. Let me talk about my Ireland experience in Dublin. Okay, so we were in Dublin and we were traveling from Dublin to, what do you call it? From Dublin to the north of Dublin. The north of Ireland, there is a place called Glandendorf or something like that. We were going to that side and we were in a group. I was the only black guy. And, you know, like, I realized that people were not even listening. I realized that people were not even paying attention to my color, that this guy is a black guy. They were like super okay. They were chatting. They were, you know, like, you understand what I'm saying? Even listen, somebody was trying to even offer me a job, hotel manager in Dublin. You understand what I'm saying? So if when I got into the bus, I just tried to stay in one corner and I just tried to, pose like I'm the only black guy. You know, how is it going to be like? So the problem of this discrimination thing is a lot of we black people, we have that thing in our mind planted. So whenever we go anywhere, we are already looking for someone to blame that person doesn't like us. You understand? So for you to get a job here is not about your color. Nobody is going to discriminate against you. Let me see. There is somebody who left a comment here. Mr. Uganda said, just about everyone discrimination on some level. Africans are very, very judgmental. Yes, Africans. Okay, tell me a little bit about this African being very judgmental thing, Mr. Chibli. What do you think about this? Because, yeah.
That's all true. I can actually relate with Mr. Uganda. Even I would also admit that I'm very prejudiced as well towards such and such, right? I'm not going to mention any country names, but I mean, it just goes with the nature, right? Like if you hear so many bad stories about a certain country, they're always doing this, that stuff kind of gets implanted into you, right? So it just goes without saying that yes, part of it is human nature, part of it is just being uneducated, misinformed, and just unaware of the realities, right? Now, I'm coming from Southeast Asia, where being Chinese is like being a white person. They worship being Chinese, being fair skinned, that kind of stuff. I mean, that goes throughout Southeast Asia at large. Even India actually have the same colorism, racism, caste system, all those kind of things going to those play points. But as for what Mr. Uganda said, discrimination is definitely there. I mean, it's part of human nature. It's shameful to say that, but that's what it is.
All right, Mr. Chibley, thank you so much. I'm going to quickly ask Mr. Joe some questions, then I'll get back to you again. Yes, Mr. Joe, what is your say on what we are talking about here?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, 100%, Mr. Joe.
Okay. My name is Joe. I'm actually Nigerian, but currently lives and work in Qatar. So when it comes to migration, I want to look at it from this point of view. Okay. Globalism or globalization or the globalist. Okay. This is from the political angle. I see it as migration is actually a tool they are trying to use to encourage brain drain, especially from less economically viable countries. And Africa stands to be one of the continents that is suffering more of this, because it has to do with our history. When you check the era of colonization and all those things, and what the colonial masters did when they were living, when you watch the whole of African countries, you can agree with me that it was structured and programmed to fail. If you are in Africa and you don't have the connections, especially in politics, those who are in politics, it is very, very extremely difficult for you to survive, no matter how intelligent you are, because the systems and the structure and the institutions are not there to enable those who don't have anything to come up. Now, when you watch what is happening in Africa, people go through Sahara Desert, the Sahel, and the Mediterranean Sea, and all these things. They are not doing these things because they want to do it or they love doing it, but it is they believe is the only way to survive. It's better you try than not to try. And when you check our African countries the way it is now, most in every household, at least you have one person who is abroad. And this one person who is abroad is the reason why most of those families can afford a better life. We can all agree that the basic...
You remind me of another question, but I'm going to ask you afterwards. I want you to just try and finish what you're saying.
Yeah, now, you can agree with me that the way Africa is, I will use my own country, for instance, Nigeria. If you are not rich, okay, in a very short way, I will say it is programmed to sustain only the rich or the political participants, those who are either connected to politicians or you are from a political lineage. The way the system is structured, even in governance, you check the family tree of those we have even up to today. Check if there is anyone you know, even in your own country, Ghana.
Yeah.
Check the countries and check the family tree. You will discover that at one point in time, there is a member of their family who was in power or in government from the colonial era. Always check. If you know any of the politicians you know now, try to take one of them, do a case study. You will discover that the family tree worked with the colonial masters. And it is still these same people they have groomed and they are rotating time over time till what we have now. And when you watch, it's like a button of oppression. They give their children the best of life, send them to schools abroad. Then these children come back again to take over the baton. and they will oppress the same people they left in that the same people their father has held captive all this while. So
Yes,
Africa,
yes, you are right about that one. Even in Ghana,
now,
we have it in Ghana. Yeah.
so migration, I would say, is a good thing. On the one hand, it's a good thing. On the other side, the hindsight of it is a tool of globalists to ensure that those countries where they got resources during the colonial era remain perpetually poor, or they create this kind of fractions where you will continually be in chaos. For instance, you mentioned the issue of tribalism.
Yeah.
Why is African suffering? Why is African suffering tribalism? Why is it African suffering tribalism? It is very simple. I will tell you. Check all the histories of the world and independence. Look at the whole of Europe. The country, the name of the country is the language, is the same people. They have the same culture, they have the same value, they have the same belief, opinion, religion. In Africa, why was that not the case? How can you come to my land and you tell me you discovered me in my land? You cannot discover what has been in existence. There were some people there, and the funny thing is, they have done it over the year, and it is a program. And now we have to unlearn all these things, and it's very difficult. That's where the problem now is. They told you Vasco da Gama discovered the sea route to India. How can you discover the sea route to India while there were people in India? It is a discovery for him because he is new in that land. Right?
It's really something crazy. Let me quickly allow Mr. Unapologetic, a very interesting name. After that, we will come back to you again, Mr. Joe. Just a second,
Okay.
because I've been waiting for Mr. Unapologetic to tell us something a little bit. What do you think about what we are discussing today?
Well, I thought you were discussing something else, but it sounds as if this gentleman is talking about nepotism and corruption, which is, of course, rife in this gentleman's country. But what he didn't actually mention is that it's everywhere. Nepotism and corruption is everywhere. I'm sure you know about it as well, where you're living over there in Brazil. I don't think it's something that we should even fight anymore. I think we should just, I don't know. I think we need to realize that it's happening, understand it, and try and do our best to work with it or around it. We can do that now. We have tools today which puts us in better positions, which means that we can educate ourselves. We don't need to go to university to educate ourselves. We don't need to listen to somebody else tell stories about a particular country. You know, we can see it with our own eyes. We can view it. We can watch videos on YouTube all day. We have a lot of power, but the media tries to put us in a position where we are sort of helpless, you know, where we constantly have this victim mindset, like, oh, everything is wrong, everything is going bad against me. But we're in a position now where we can change things. I don't know if you watched Dr. Mumby.
Yes, I've been watching Dr. Mumby too as well. Yeah,
she's excellent. She's brilliant, and I watched a show a couple of days ago about how the world that we used to know, you know, they keep talking about the new normal. The world that we used to know is different, and it's changing so rapidly at this moment that we actually can't see that it's changing. It's really weird.
There is a question that I want to ask you also. Have you been to Africa?
Yeah, I've been to the Gambia, I've been to Senegal, and I've been to Ghana, but when I was really young, I went to Ghana with my father.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about what do you call it? What do you think about what do you think about these places that you've been and where you are actually from? I can guess you are from the UK, right?
I'm from the UK. I was born in the UK, but I'm of Jamaican origin. Both my mother and father are from Jamaica. So, but I was born and raised in the UK.
Okay, so yeah, so I wanted to ask you, what is your experience comparing these two places, these two continents? Okay, the European continent where you were born, and also the African continent, which the countries that you have been to. What is your say comparing these two places?
It's vastly different, you know. It's vastly different in many aspects, but in other aspects, we are very much the same. So when they keep talking about, for instance, corruption in Africa, you know, in Nigeria, you know, they always say Nigerians are corrupt. They're just as corrupt in America. Exactly the same in America. But they change the wording, don't they? Okay, so I'm not sure what they call it in the UK, but in America they call it, what's the word of it? Lobbying. Oh yeah, this company is lobbying me. It's corruption. They're paying them to make a certain decision. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. So personally myself, you know, when I was in the Gambia, I met a lot of very humble, very nice, beautiful people in the Gambia. The vast majority of them were like that. But I also met people that didn't like me. They didn't like me. I promise you. There was this one guy at the hotel who just used to give me dirty looks all the time. And I didn't understand why he was giving me these dirty looks, but I don't know. I never approached him. I never asked him. I made the assumption that it was because he was in a situation where he was working, you know, practically for pennies at this hotel, grafting away, and I was sort of like, you know, relaxing there. It was okay for him to see like Europeans there. He saw Europeans there all the time, but to see a black guy there, you know, I was staying at the Senegambia Hotel at the time. So you know,
okay,
just
there is
there,
one
you know.
question. There is another question that I want to ask you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you these two places, okay, Europe and Africa, okay, Europe and Africa, would you which one would you choose to start all over from zero? Like, you are not going to be given a house, you're not going to be given anything. You are going to make a choice to start from zero. Which place are you going to choose?
Europe. I'm going to answer
Why
this
not
question.
Africa?
I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer this question. I'm going to answer it honestly. It would be Europe, because Europe, I could start there and then I could move to Africa and then I could have the best of both worlds. But if you are starting in Africa, it's much more difficult to make the move to Europe than it is to make the move from Europe to Africa. However, I will say this. Growing up on the continent, you have something which no diasporan has. None of them has. A lot of African Americans in particular are struggling with having very little ties to their past, to their long lost past, okay? Because they've been detached from that pretty hard in the United States of America. Now, because of that, they've adapted and they have grown their own extremely strong, extremely unique culture, which is which has come to be probably perhaps one of the which has made African Americans perhaps one of the most strongest African ethnicities ever, right? They've put themselves into that situation, but that's just the way us as Africans evolve and adapt. All right.
So would you say Africans don't have privileges than the people in the Western world? Would you say, yeah, would you say
Yeah.
Africans don't have privileges like the ones who are from the West, like Europe, United States, and stuff like that? Would you say that?
I would say that Africans are. It depends in which country you're talking about and which level of society you are at. If
Okay,
you
let's use the countries that you've been in Africa.
Okay.
Let's use the countries that you've been.
Okay. So in my case, yeah, of course, you know, Senegal. I've never been to Dakar, right? I've never been to Dakar, but the other parts of Senegal that I went to, there were poor people there, and Gambia was also poor people, you know. So, you know, when I went there, and we're talking about the 1990s when I was there. When I went there, I was like, so happy I've got a British passport. You know, yeah, I'm English. I am. I used to think that way. Of course, I sort of, you know, I struggled to make that connection with the people when I was a teenager. But as I grew older, my connection became stronger and stronger. I went to live in the United States in the 1990s as well. I lived in New York, spent 4 years there. And when I was there, I realized that Africans were ostracized by the African Americans. That's the way it was, especially in the 1980s and the 1990s. They were ostracized. The Africans, the African Americans were like, we're different. I used to see it with my own two eyes that they sort of kept themselves to themselves, and you know, but that's part of their culture. You know, African Americans have a strong culture, and so I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but that's just the way it is. When you have a strong culture, you know, everything that's foreign to that culture, especially when it comes to Americans, you know, when you realize the vast majority of Americans back in the 1990s had never left the United States. Even now, it's only 60% of Americans have left the United States. And 20% of those people have left the United States. They've either gone across the border into Canada or into Mexico. They've never left North America before. So they don't know a lot about what's out there. Even now that we have the internet, we have YouTube and all those other things as well. So I've realized that, you know, I am privileged. I realize that I'm privileged. I realize that I do have the opportunity to do things that other people don't. So I use the opportunity. And I've done that throughout my life. But, you know, I now see Africa as being my next goal, my next target is to not just see all of it, but to go there and to allow it to consume me. You know what I mean? To not just to go there, just to visit and this was nice, but to let it consume me, to, you know, envelop me in everything that is African, especially West Africa.
What is your say on what Mr. Joe said? Because Mr. Joe was making some strong points about the real experiences back there in Africa and the reasons of leaving Africa and all that. He was saying some strong stuff over there about we don't have support systems for people who are simply in need, like a whole lot of things. What is your say on that? Do you support or do you agree a little bit with Mr. Joe? Because I personally agree with a lot of things that Mr. Joe said. But if you don't remember some of the things, I can allow him to give us some of what he said again, so that you can start speaking. Yeah.
I can't. I was on a live myself actually and I just came on and I saw that he was on. I was like, came on. So I didn't listen to what.
Listen to it. Okay, then I'm going to call him back I'm going to call him back to tell us a little bit again the reasons, so that you see from that side if you really agree, or if there is something you think is not right over there, then you can tell us too as well. Mr. Joe, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
All right, perfect. Mr. Joe, can you recap a little bit what you said about leaving Africa and some of the toughest things that you have seen and experienced in the past before you left Africa, and the difficulties? Can you share a little bit with us so that I can see with Mr. Unapologetic to tell us a little bit what he thinks about that?
Okay. Africa, for those born in Africa and from middle class or the downtrodden, it's a different definition to an African born into affluence or from a political family. Now, when we talk of migration, there are a lot of things to address when it comes to migration. And the way I see migration, it is a globalist tool to ensure Africa is held down perpetually. Why do I say so? You can be intelligent with the best grade from your university days, and you will see people who were like good for nothing, but because they have parents who are either business mogul or they are into politics, and they have the connections at the right places, they will, even with the best of your qualifications, they will excel in life more than you. It is only in a very rare situation, I'm not sure it is even up to a handful of persons, who escape that line. In Africa, it is either you are rich or you are poor. The system is structured in such a way that if you have money and you go back to Africa, you will enjoy the best of life in Africa. But if you don't have that money, that's where the problem is. To leave that class from the poor to the rich, that is where it is, because there is no middle class. In as far as I'm concerned, there is no middle class. Why is it like this? The political structure in Africa is, I call them what we call, to me, all countries in Africa is considered a company run by managing directors. What we call presidents in Africa are not actually presidents. These people are just managing the companies, the organizations registered in the UN by the colonial masters on behalf of the colonial masters. And because they are working under the directives of those who gave them independence in quote, because you can't give me what I have already. I was in my land, you invaded my land. You stole from me, and at the end of the day, you are telling me now I've given you freedom. You are now independent. Then you register me in an organization, and you are telling me how I should run my own home. Why am I saying this? The Africans we have in politics up to today, if you know of any, I bet you do a case study. Take one of them. Try to look at the family tree. You will discover that these are offsprings of those who were either warrant chiefs for those of us from in West Africa where Britain and had their raid. If you watch the family tree, you will discover that their great grandfather actually worked with the Europeans as warrant chiefs and whatsoever at the administrative level. And these are the same people and their children they groomed over the year. They will take them to UK, they will take them to US. These people are not actually going there for school, but they are going there for some other indoctrinations and inductions. These same people will still come back to take the battle of oppression. We should ask ourselves one question. Africa has the youngest population. The human resources is there. The natural resources is there. How come Africa, after the so-called political independence they gave to them, the flag independence up to today, does not have basic amenities? Mind you, we don't lack water. We don't lack everything we have. So we don't have light. We don't have running pipe-borne waters. We don't have good roads. We don't have healthcare system. We don't have good education system. What is the cause of all these things? I maintain it. It is all about migration is a scam. It is true that at the end of the day, it has helped a lot of families in Africa because In every average African family, you have at least 1 or 2 persons who is abroad. And most of these people are the reason why those families now have edge in their various communities or villages. Those in diaspora are the reason why the families are smiling. In Africa, you have to give yourself virtually everything. You have to buy a land of your own. You build a house of your own. You get security for yourself. You buy it, like in Nigeria, you will need to give yourself electricity. If you don't have power generating sets, you can't have light, because you cannot depend on what the system can give to you. So virtually everything in Africa is in shambles. And it is, I keep on saying, it is a tool, because when you take the best of brain and you bring them to Europe, to America, to Asia, they work. The intention was to go there and make ends meet, right? Now, they work and they give the best of their service to another country. This country remains economically buoyant, politically stable, and what have you, technologically advanced. And mind you, most of those guys building these softwares and apps are still Africans who migrated from Africa. These are not the people who were taken over during the era of the slave trade. A good number of these guys are still guys from Africa who the system frustrated until they said, no, I have to leave. And that is still the same reason. It is out of frustration. Nobody wants to come to abroad and he will decide to take and make up his mind that, okay, I'm going to Europe now. I will take Sahel and pass through the Mediterranean Sea. Who will see fire and want to go into it? Nobody. But because of the frustration and you don't have what it takes to go through the right process, you will take what is next available. It boils down to, I keep on saying it, Africa can only be okay when the masses say enough is enough and give a redefinition to what they call independence in Africa. Because the truth of the matter remains, all the guys we have in the system are just acting a script given by the colonial masters. The countries we have in especially, okay, check the Francophone speaking African nations. They still pay tax, colonial tax up to today to France. Now you ask yourself, during the what they call colonial era, first, to begin with, you came to my country without invitation. That is trespass. You invaded, you stole everything, you left. And you are telling somebody that he has to pay colonial tax for developing his country, the country for which you stole the resources and took away. Our artifacts are in museums in Britain, and these things were stolen. They were not actually sold to them. It was stolen. And Africa is still where it is today. If you are not from a family that is financially stable in Africa, there is nothing for you there. You only become a human being living when you must have crossed over to overseas, and you make ends meet and you give yourself the life you want. That's only. If you have money in diaspora, you will discover the best place to go and relax is Africa. There is no other place where you can enjoy your money other than Africa. One, because the system is porous. Anything goes. Anything goes. So when you make money in diaspora, you can comfortably come back Africa and be one of the kings because you have money. That is the language they understand. But if you are poor, with the best of brain and ideas, nobody sees you. Nobody. And that's why you see when most of the people, when they leave, at the end of the day, they get lost. They forget the main intention why they travel abroad first was to come here, make ends meet, and come back home and develop home. With time, they are carried away by the lifestyle abroad. These are some of the things.
Okay,
but
so
I tell you,
Mr. Unapologetic, you heard what Mr. Joe said. What do you think about what Mr. Joe said?
I think some of the things that he's saying is right. I think that social mobility in Africa is almost impossible, really. If you're poor, this is the reason why a lot of them are crossing the Sahara in the first place. If you thought that if social mobility was much better, especially in West Africa, where, if social mobility was better in West Africa, then they wouldn't be heading in large numbers to Europe, okay? But the fact is that social mobility is difficult. It's difficult to be poor and then move up the ranks and become somebody who is at least wealthy, because we are constantly in survival mode. A lot of the people there in West Africa, I'm talking about West Africa specifically, are constantly in this survival mode and unable to open their minds up and innovate and think differently and clearly. You know, a lot of our youngsters are not given the opportunity to implement ideas which would make Africa grow. That is a big problem. Okay. I'm trying to remember what he said, but I'm not sure what is the solution and why this problem exists. Okay, there is a lot of nepotism and there is a lot of corruption. There is a lot of, you know, if you're not rich, then you have no chance. It's one of those things, right? But, you know, I was talking about specific countries within the continent because, you know, in some certain countries, let's say like South Africa, it's a lot easier for you to get on that ladder. Social mobility is a little easier, right? It's a little easier in South Africa as opposed to the Gambia. If you're poor in the Gambia, it's very difficult to move up the ladder. It just is. It's difficult. It's difficult.
But do you agree with most of the African vlogging, like you know, the other side of Africa that people are trying to promote, to invite our other African people to come in, our other Black people to come in? What is your say on that kind of vlogs, which they show, you know, like they say the beauty side of Africa, people to come, for people to come and invest, start life, settle, and stuff like that. What is your say on that? Because I know yourself, you are a Black from Europe. So what is your say on that? Because there are a lot of videos circulating from African vloggers, like African Tigress, Wadamaya, and all that. What do you say?
I think it's good. I think it's good. I really do. I support people who try to push out Africa, push out the positive things about Africa, because for decades and decades, the Western media was pushing out the narrative that everything was bad in Africa. You know, anytime you saw somebody, even now, where I'm living right now, anytime you see a Black person on the TV, something negative. It's something bad. Anytime you see them in the media in this country, there's something bad happening, right? So if you walk down the street here, right, and you see a big poster, and if there's a Black child on that poster, guarantee you that Black child has a ripped T-shirt and it probably has its hand out like that, and it's from Oxfam or, you know, UNICEF or someone like that. Guaranteed, right? So I'm trying to remember the point I'm trying to make, but I truly believe that we can do something about that. Definitely, 100% we can do something about that. And me being in a situation now where I can focus and I can bring my children back to the continent and allow them to grow up around people that look like them, you know, and they have a better chance of, and this is another question actually, you got a lot of these people who are showing Africa in a good light to other Africans in the diaspora who are now coming back, who have lost their connection to the continent and who are struggling culturally to adapt to Africa. So they're coming in from the United States of America, and all of a sudden they don't like the fact that they are being looked at as being different, you know, and being called these names, you know, like Mzungu and all that.
Mzungu, yeah.
They've been called these names and they don't like it, but that's something they need to embrace and appreciate, right? The fact that there is strong cultures in Africa. Is everything perfect? No, it's not perfect. Africa has its problems like everywhere else. Yeah, it may have more problems than other places, but guarantee you, one thing that Africa doesn't have is a lot of people going round disrespecting one another because they come from the west coast of Africa, or because they wear different clothes, or because they don't like a particular gang and they don't throw up gang signs, and they're not doing that in Africa. They don't have the time for that. They don't have the time for that. They are more focused on survival and on getting their money, especially in places like Nigeria. I love Nigeria. I think Nigeria is the crown jewel of Africa. And I've said before that Nigeria is going to lead the way, right? It will lead the way. It's already got the largest city in Africa. It's got the largest population in Africa. It will have the largest, within the next 20 years, it will have the largest city in the world. I don't know if you know that, but they're growing at a rate where they will have the largest city on the planet. And
okay, there is another question.
Yeah.
There is another question that I wanted to ask you. From 1 to, okay, let me just say this. From 1 to 100%, okay, from 1 to 100%, how many percentage of negativity would you give Africa from 1 to 100?
How much negativity?
Yes, like the propaganda that is going on around the world on Western media about Africa and stuff like that. How many percentage are you going to give on that one?
Let me tell you this. Let me say this. Right. Do Russian people care about what Americans are thinking? Do they care about what Brazilians are thinking, what British people are thinking, and French? They don't care. They're not brought up in a culture where they're thinking, oh, I wonder what those people over there are thinking about us. I wonder if they think bad about us. The number one people that we should be really focused on and looking at are the Chinese, because 30 years ago, China was a hellhole. It was really a bad place to be. It was not uncommon to see dead baby fetuses in the street, dead babies in the street, just lying there 30 years ago. And within 30 years, they've taken a country that had one of the lowest standards of living on the planet, and they've turned it into a country that is going to overtake America as being the richest country on the planet, right? Within 30 years, they managed to do this. And they have a similar population than the whole of Africa, only they don't have the resources. They don't even have the brain power in comparison to Africa. They don't. It's just that the West has bled us dry. They've bled Africa dry to the point in which it's been difficult for our young people to develop and innovate, right? It has been difficult.
But don't you think the fault is from us Black people or us Africans?
No, absolutely not.
Why is that?
Because Africa has the resources. We have everything. And those other places weren't colonized like Africa was colonized, like South America wasn't colonized like Africa was colonized. Our situation is very unique, right? So we were moved out of Africa. A lot of us was taken to the diaspora. And as soon as the Europeans knew what type of resources we had under our feet, they started carving up the continent and grabbing pieces of it from here, there, and everywhere. That's what they did. So you've got to remember that we are not in the same situation. The Europeans had to continuously do this, and they don't think like we think. Remember, we're in survival mode. They are thinking about how their great-grandkids, what kind of a world their great-grandkids that don't even exist yet are going to inherit. And they shape the world and control the world in a way that is conducive to their great-grandchildren having control,
you said something about
power.
Yeah, you said something about shaping and controlling. And you still said they are the reason why this is happening. Don't you think we can just put it to a switch let me just say, switch off mode, where we will ignore every document and then start all over and put in some rules, and also think and start shaping things the way we want.
We can, but we need a very powerful social structure in order to do it with. Capitalism is one of those structures, but really we struggle with it because we have so much nepotism and corruption, and so many people who are in power and who don't want to spread the love for all Africans.
Okay, but have you realized that you said there is corruptions and stuff like that? Do you think if not for the corruption, let me put it this way. There is some kind of way I want to say this. Let me just say this in my way. Just a second, okay? I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but let me just say this. I think we don't have to blame the Europeans, or we don't have to say they are the reason why we are like that, but rather deep within us, we are the reason why we are what we are, because of some people among us. Because why do I say this? Because I believe if, for example, Africa say no, finish. We don't want dollar, we don't want euro, we don't want anything. Keep your staffs, we keep what we have. We will plan on what we want. If you are coming to Africa, you are coming with a structure to build Africa, period. If not that, we don't want anything from you. If you want to buy something in Africa, you have to go to like Nigeria, get ivory, before a long ivory, then you can get maybe a small banana, half of banana. You understand? Don't you think we can do something like that?
That's what I was saying before. We need some sort of strong social structure, because it's so difficult for us to unify. When the Europeans chopped up the Africa into those countries, they did the same thing that they did in the Middle East. They put lines and drew lines as borders that crisscrossed tribal lands. They did that on purpose to divide people. So it was difficult for people to understand one another and to live with one another. You know, that was purposefully done to divide us. So it's difficult for us to unify. We should unify. Communism is hated. It's really hated by the West. But communism has done very well for the Chinese, hasn't it? You know, that they seem to thrive on it. It's not like it was bad. It was just that communism was attacked covertly by the Americans. Now, I'm not saying that communism should be used for Africa, but certainly think about it. Think about all those billionaires in Africa, you know, who haven't bothered spending the money on a high-speed rail from Dakar to Abuja. You know, they haven't. None of this has progressed because billions of dollars are going into pockets of a handful of wealthy African men who are then sending their children over here to Switzerland, and then they're sending their children to private schools down the road. I see them all the time. They go to the best schools, right? And then they go back to Africa. They go back to Africa after they've graduated. They get themselves the best positions because of nepotism. And then they go to America and become the ambassador of Nigeria, or they go to some of the... That's what they want. The African governors, the people that control Africa, control it, the government, they don't want change. They want things to stay the same. It's in their best interest for things to stay the same. They're wealthy, they're in power, we control everything, we can give that down to our children. You people, oh, well, you know, just, you will get there one day, but, you know, and that's the problem. We have too many people who think that the countries that they run is their own personal piggy bank that they control.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much. I want to ask Mr. Chibley the same question that I asked you. I'm going to ask Mr. Chibley. Mr. Chibley, are you there?
Okay. Yes, yes,
Good.
I am.
Mr. Chibley, there is this question that I think maybe you can help us with the answer, Mr. Chibley.
Sure.
Do you think we should blame Europeans for what is happening in Africa?
You know, I see that as an excuse. You know, as long as you want an excuse for not doing something, for not achieving something, it will never lead to success. There's always an excuse. I know I didn't wake up early today because this, A, B, C, and D. There's always an excuse. So we need to hide away from that mentality. That's the slave mentality. We need to strictly run away from it. If we're going to make anything out of our economies, we need to start thinking on our own. We need to start industrializing. You know, Africa is very rich in raw materials. Okay. So imagine instead of sending the copper, the gold, the diamonds to Western countries for processed goods, why don't we start making them right here and then exporting the finished product? That's just an example. I would also give you this. Look at Vietnam. In the 70s, there was war in Vietnam, right? Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City was under siege by the Americans. In the north, in Hanoi, there was, and I think other European countries, they had to move away from that mentality of war, colonization, you know, all that kind of bad history that they went under. That's not an excuse. So where Africa is out, Zambia has been independent, for example, for over 53 years, right? We can't keep.
Yeah, your internet, I think the internet is a little bit bad for Mr. Chibley. Yes, so the question here is, are we going to continue blaming the Western countries or the Westerners or the Europeans and the Americans for what is going on in Africa? Because yesterday I made some point out here. China went through that same kind of thing, but today they are close to being let me just say they are superpower. Yeah, they have become very, very powerful. Don't you people think we have so much excuses as Africans, guys? Yes.
Hello.
Aha, you are back.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Now it's Joe.
Yeah, Joe. Okay, Mr. Joe, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. See, there is one thing I always say. The problem is Africans. At this stage, it is Africans. Why do I say Africans? You, for instance, Supreme Leader,
Yeah.
you cannot go back and blame your father for not giving you the kind of life you are living now today.
Yes, of course.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So
Yes.
that's why I say the problem is Africans. I cannot go to my father and now blame him for not being one of the politicians. No, I saw what is happening, and there is need for me to escape this trap. Right? Yes. Now it was incumbent on me to make sure that I live and I get the life I want, not just for myself, but for my offsprings, so that they will not go the same route. Why am I saying it is Africans? African, naturally, I think the whites who came to Africa, they did a proper study of an African. Okay? Yeah. They discovered one thing: greed and jealousy. And an average African is an oppressor. Why do I say so? If he is opportune to have something and is in control, he will make sure that he does everything that it takes to retain that power, even if he knows he's incompetent. Watch what happened with the movement and the wind of change, political change, when they started having independence in Africa. Watch all the African leaders who were killed or assassinated. It was done by their fellow friends, engineered by the colonial masters, because this person wanted to serve African interests. Now you see a fellow African who would prefer to have that power for the glory of power and to serve the interest of an outsider.
His own family.
You would get the point. So it is still us. The problem is still us. And that is why they enjoy what is happening. They have built this dynasty for themselves and their generation forever and ever. And they see any person who try to question that status quo as who is this one who wants to tell us otherwise. They can kill to thy kingdom come to make sure that the status quo remains. So, in as far as, yes, the template was laid down by the globalists and the colonialists, the fact remains, I always ask this question: what will happen if we Africans, the so-called, because what we have, we don't have leaders, we have just tyrants and rulers,
Yeah.
imposed on us through the machinery of election by the Westerners. That's what we have in Africa. Well, I keep on asking, what is that treaty that the Europeans signed before they left Africa that we are still hell-bent on keeping even up to today? What is that treaty? So you cannot say, okay, I ask this question. If the African leaders or rulers or tyrants say, to hell with you people, colonial masters, whatever existed there or whatever treaty that happened then, we are not bound by it. We are not going to maintain it. Will this world end? Will the heaven fall? If they say we are not bound by those treaties again, will heaven fall? Will the West decide now to erase the whole of Africa as a continent, that there will be no human living being there because they need the human natural resources? It will not happen. It is just the work of there is an angle of it I don't want to go into, because all it has to do with Illuminati and fraternities too. That's another angle of it. That's just another angle of it. But let's not go into it. And that is one of the reasons why you see it is still the way it is. Because to an African, all he sees is money. Give me now. They don't believe in tomorrow. Now. Yeah. Once you promise him that power and that money, he can kill his whole family. He can kill his whole family and become the only Lord of the Rings in that whole entire town. And that's all they care about. So it is still us until we go back and change our mindset. This identity crisis, until we go back and change that mindset, place reset, let it come back to factory fitting. That factory mode, the way when you buy a new phone, before you begin to put app, until you go back to that.
I just said something like that. Why can't we just switch off that mode and then start all over again and then use what we have?
The Europeans were very, very knowledgeable. You see all the things we have in Africa carved out. They knew Pan-Africanism would have held and make more wave or more move or more push hadn't been Africans were called independent states based on tribal line. Because if you watch what is happening in Africa, we are tribal beings by nature. If you watch Africa, we are tribal beings by nature. If all of these tribes were emerged as nations, Pan-Africanism would have been very, very easy. Because, and you are defending your identity, your culture, your language, your belief, your tradition. Do you get the point? But in a situation where you take A, B, C, D, F, you join them together and say, from today, you are one country. You see, it is already a call for constant war till thy kingdom end. Because everybody wants to make sure that he's heard. And in Africa, we know the constitutions, how the constitutions were written. It is not the tribes, the various tribes or ethnicity coming together to make a constitution that works for everybody and everybody's interest was protected in that constitution. It is a constitution written by 2 or 3 persons and imposed on others, whereby they believe the mighty takes it all. And with that kind of friction and conflict, Africa can never get well. I'm telling you, bro, we are tribal beings by nature. If Africa goes back to what it was before the colonial master comes, you will see all these things will disappear. You see all these things happening in Africa, it will disappear. But because the colonial master understood that the only way to keep these people under check and continually use these resources is to make sure that there is continuous misunderstanding and dispute among them. That's the only way. So now it means the Darwin's theory. The Darwin's theory.
Yeah.
The strongest will take it, the strongest will always survive. So it is now those who consider themselves the majority within each and every country, in quotes, the Europeans left for us. They are the ones in power and they are the ones dictating what will happen. Even if the resources is in your father's house, they will still take it and take the lion's share and give you whatever they deem necessary. No country in Africa is actually a nation. It is all countries. Africa we will have nations in Africa when each of those tribes are identified and called countries. That is the same way we have in Germany. They speak German language. They have the same culture. The same way they speak in France. The same way they have in Netherlands. The same way they have in Sweden, Finland. These are a people of their own. That's why when there's a conflict, they always forge one front, a national identity. That unity of purpose will always be there. It will suffice. And that's why they're always able to win any battle, because they come as one unit, as one front, that we are one people. But in Africa, it will never happen. Because in Africa, what they will think, if we fight this thing together now, these people will be the one to benefit more from it. For that reason, let me go and do saboteur. Let me call this European and tell them this is what they're planning. And if the European will give you some, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
of
that's
course.
the problem. The problem is us. We can only fix Africa when Africa goes back to what? Factory setting. What we were before the European came.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for the time. I think we have spent a lot of time on this particular topic. We have to wrap up and then plan for another topic. Hopefully, it's going to be about who to give blame for African problems. So I'm going to plan this one and then draft it out. If God permits, hopefully tomorrow I'm going to be on maybe at the same time or maybe later in the day. But then for every new subscriber or every new viewer, you can join us on our group chat. The link is at the description box. You can just go there, click the link, and then be part of our Telegram group conversation. Okay, guys, I love you guys. Thank you so much, Mr. Joe, and thank you so much, Mr. Sibley. And I'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Bye-bye. Don't forget to subscribe and share the channel for me, guys.
Bye-bye. That's your family.